What is your name?
Roger Frye,
How are you related to me?
grandfather.
Where did you grow up and when were you born?
I grew up in California. I was born in 1947.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing and how you felt when you heard that JFK had been shot?
It was kind of on the traumatic side. I mean, it was a real shock. Yeah, I was at school when I found out, and they made the announcement on the school intercom.
Okay. Do you remember about the civil rights movement, the riots, the passive resistance, segregation, and the killing of Michael Luther King or Martin Luther King?
Uh, Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes, sir.
I do. Uh, I remember that, and what do you want me to say about it? Anything?
Just what do you remember about it?
Well, I remember that my dad was very bigoted, and so I just had a belief system that reflected his, and so I was very much against all the demonstrations and so forth, and it wasn't until later that I began to understand the way these people were suffering and why they wanted to demonstrate. And I was glad that it was a peaceful demonstration.
That's cool. Do you remember about the space program and the landing on the moon?
I do, yes, I remember that. And very intriguing when when that happened. That was the focus of everyone's attention there for a while.
Yeah. What do you remember about Ronald Reagan?
I remember that he was a good actor. I liked watching his movies, and he was the kind of guy that was, I felt, very winsome and easy to listen to, and easy for me to to get on board with whatever he was wanting to do.
He was very charismatic and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, he was.
Okay. What do you remember about the Vietnam War, like how people felt when we pulled out and other things?
Well, I remember that there were people such as my uncle who spoke in our church, and he was, I think the term was a hawk, and he felt that we ought to go in and stay in that war to win and not just try to maintain long enough to back out. There was a lot of demonstrations. A lot of people were very much opposed to that war. A friend of mine, my best friend, in fact, right after high school, he went in the army, and they shipped him out to Vietnam. I didn't go because I medically I couldn't because of asthma, and which is a good thing because I really didn't want to go over there and kill people and have them try to kill me. But there was a lot of people from my high school, a lot of guys, it seems like, that were killed in that war. So it was very sad. Um, and the tragic thing, in my opinion, is when those military men came home, they were, even though they had gone to fight out of obedience to their superiors and for this country, they were kind of treated as uh, outcasts, almost, they were, I can't
Like
say,
lepers from the Bible.
kind of like that, but they had no respect for what they had done. And a lot of these guys just suffered from PTSD. They couldn't really make their marriages work. They just they were tormented, and I'm very sad about that.
Yeah. What do you remember about the Watergate scandal and Nixon's resignation?
Well, I initially was on his side, and I I felt that that this was just something concocted to attack him, tear him down, and but in retrospect, in my opinion, he really failed